Hey, what's going on, YouTube? This is Sean, and it's been a while. It's been quite a while. October was crazy busy, personally, professionally, business wise. But here we are. It's the first day of November 2023. I'm going to call it November, Know, Vember, because this month I am embarking on a personal, professional, spiritual, business journey of knowledge, just seeking knowledge, sharing knowledge. And guess what? When you share your knowledge, that knowledge is doubled. Why? Because if I share it with you, that's cementing it in my brain, is giving it to you to share with somebody else. So it doubles and quadruples and triples the knowledge when I share it. So happy November. So what I wanted to talk about today is a couple different things. I'm going to start addressing some, not all, some of the emails that I receive, some of the messages that I get on LinkedIn. Every day I receive tons of messages from various sources, whether it be somebody going to my business website, social media, wherever. I have a confession though. I'm not always the person that's drilling down into my messages. It's too many of them. So here you can see my spreadsheet. My delivery consultants, AKA my recruiters, personal assistants, whatever you want to call them, for the most part, especially with LinkedIn, they manage my inbox. So what they'll do is when they get the messages, they'll put them, label them for what they were, link to the message and tell me what the message is. And then I go in when I have time and I address my messages. And I'll get to why that's relevant in a minute. But just keep in mind that when you guys are sending me messages and different things, I am not always the person that's initially looking at it. Okay. So, with that being so, it might take me a few days to respond. Now, if you send me some foolishness, I don't have to respond. Or if you send me something and I address it, I'm probably not going to address it more than once or twice. Reason being, I'm not going back and forth with anybody, especially when it comes to my services, my products. This is not a customer's always right type of situation with me, because my service is my time. My service is my energy. And I reserve the right to reclaim that time and that energy anytime I feel like it, if I feel like you are trying to waste it. That's my disclaimer. So let's jump right in. Today we're talking about emails. And in particular, I'm going to address two messages that I've gotten, an email and a LinkedIn message, actually. And I want to answer these and be clear when I'm answering these. So the first email I got from an amazing woman that bought the digital toolkit. And she had a great question. But I want to address the entirety of the email and clarify some things. So the email goes as follows. Hi, Dr. Thompson. I purchased your healthcare staffing kit. Now, the first issue is that it's not a healthcare staffing kit. The digital toolkit is for the purposes of anyone who wants to start a staffing or recruitment business, irrespective of what niche you have. Healthcare staffing is a particular niche. Another issue with that statement is the fact that healthcare staffing, that's one line of business. I might have a healthcare recruitment line of business. Staffing and recruitment are two different things. I've gone over that in a couple of other videos. Go back and watch those. So if you bought my toolkit, I absolutely appreciate you. If you're thinking about buying it, I appreciate you too. But let's be clear on what it is. It's a digital toolkit that helps anyone in any niche start, operate, and scale a staffing and recruitment agency, a staffing and recruitment business. I will also say that My model is more recruitment heavy, and it's also more operations heavy, even though it has that startup component to it. If you know absolutely nothing about business, I recommend getting that part understood and together first before you dive into this toolkit. All right. So, this email, she's purchased the toolkit, and she goes immediately to say, you didn't address insurance at all, as far as I'm aware, in the information you provided. All right. Keep that in mind. She says that she's opening up, meaning she's in the startup phase, of a healthcare staffing firm for CNAs, RNs, nurse practitioners. What would she's asking me what I would suggest as far as the insurance. What kind of insurance? Workman's comp, trust. Who do you use? What would be good to use? I'm having a hard time with the insurances that cover this type of business. Thank you so much. So I'm going to break this down. We're going to talk about insurance first. First thing she said was, you didn't address the insurance in the bundle. So I'm going to clarify that. Here is the bundle. When you purchase the bundle, you get a link to this. This is the drive. There are many other things inside of the bundle, but this is the main thing that people buy that bundle for. This drive right here. Because even though all you see is 3 folders, those folders open out into so much more. So in the start section, which is where she should start because she said she is starting a business, you open it up here. And when you get the toolkit, it's a lot of information because these folders open up into documents, and it's a bunch of documents in there. I recommend clicking on all of them and consuming all of the material. You paid for it, consume it all. That's what you got it for. But specifically, if you come into the I folder, this folder is all about agency employee onboarding. All right. So whether you have a W-2 employee that's being onboarded with your agency, as opposed to one that's being onboarded with somebody else's company as a direct placement with your agency, we have several guides. All right. Several guides. So it was stated that I did not provide a guide on insurance. So let me just show you what's all in the I folder. I have a classification guide because it is important, specifically for nursing recruitment. It's important to know how you classify your employees. Are they going to be W-2? Are they going to be 1099? That determines your workers' compensation. So you got to come in here and actually read this document on classification. Then there's another document on workers' compensation. Read the document on workers' compensation and keep in mind your locale. Where is your business located? What state are you in? And that's going to determine what governs you. Now, I want to pause really quickly. When people purchase this toolkit, right, they're purchasing a toolkit that is pretty general. Keep this in mind. General information is typically free or low cost. I consider my toolkit to be low cost, right? So general information is free or low cost. Specific information is not free or low cost. So when you want information that's specific to your state, specific to your situation, that's going to be outside of a kit. That's going to be outside of a book. That's going to be more of a one-on-one or coaching type question or scenario that probably isn't covered in a toolkit or a book or anywhere. Probably it's probably on the internet somewhere. You can Google it, but you're going to have to drudge down and figure out your individual situation. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't want to do that. but you got to be able to differentiate between general questions and specific questions. So she did get her specific question answered because I responded to the email as best I could. But just keep in mind that you're getting this toolkit that's giving you guidance, but there is a due diligence requirement as well, right? Because if you want me to build your agency for you in a manner that gives you the specifics per your state, then you're going to have to hire me as a consultant for you, book some one-on-ones or something along that nature. But I want everybody watching, if you haven't already purchased the toolkit and you're expecting it to hold your hand, it's not going to do that. No book is going to do that. Nobody's going to do that outside of a consultative environment. So back to addressing the issue of the person stating that I did not cover insurance in the toolkit. So we're only on document 2 of this one folder. I even go, you got the classification guide. I go even deeper with this guide to 1099 versus W2. So I break it down even further to get you to classify your people properly so that you know what type of insurance you need and what they fall under. This guide, maintaining the personnel file. When you're onboarding your employees, when you're classifying them, there are certain information that you're going to collect. There are certain things that you want to keep on hand. Okay. I got a whole new hire guide. But basically, this entire folder is guidance on the insurance that you need to start a staffing agency. Now, let me just answer the question specifically for everybody. What type of insurance do you need to start a staffing and recruitment business? Particularly in her case, a healthcare staffing business. What type of insurance do you need? For any business, you need general liability. Any business, whether it be $1 million, $100K, whatever you determine, general liability is number one in your business. If you have a building involved, if you're doing something inside of somebody's place of employment outside of your own, you might need some commercial property insurance. Probably not, but dog ear that as a maybe. The next thing you would need is professional liability. Okay. She asked the question of who I would recommend personally. And this is not really a plug for them because they're not paying me. It's just me being transparent and saying who I use and have utilized for many years. I use HPSO. HPSO. That's my professional liability. They also offer general liability, whether I'm running my staffing agency or even when I'm doing consulting contracts for PBMs and managed health roles or anything that's corp to corp, business to business, professional liability, I use HPSO. And then again, your workers' compensation are going to be state specific. So what did I say? General liability, professional liability, workers' comp. Now, the issue that a lot of people run into with starting this business is they go looking, and you see here where she says, I am having a hard time with the insurances that cover this type of business. Don't create what isn't there, right? Sometimes if you don't see something and you know you've done your due diligence and looked for it, oftentimes that means for that business is not required. So I find that a lot of people getting started in this business, they create these scenarios in their head, like I need this and I need this and I need that. And you got a million companies that will sell you anything that you say you need, whether you need it or not. And they end up buying a whole lot of stuff and creating a whole lot of overhead that they don't actually need to do what it is they're setting out to do. For example, when you incorporate a business. As soon as you incorporate that business and it goes live on the Department of Corporations, you will have people emailing you, calling your business, sending you mail, telling you that you need them to be your registered agent. You need this insurance, you need that insurance. And if you're not aware, you'll end up signing up for these different services that you do not, in fact, need to start your business or to register your business. You will end up paying for an EIN number that is free. So it's the same way in staffing. It's the same way. I used to have a trucking business, a freight brokerage business. As soon as my freight brokerage license went active, I had people calling and saying that they needed to do this and I need to file that. Come to find out, I didn't need half of the stuff that I initially signed up for. So I say that to say, sometimes when you're digging, I feel like a lot of people do too much in the beginning to avoid having to do the actual work that it takes to be operational. To be honest, a lot of the contracts that you guys email me and ask me for, you don't need to be worried about that yet. You need to be worried about where you're going to get your clients from and where you're going to get your candidates from. You need to be worried about the operations and how you're going to do business. You don't need workers' comp until you have employees. You don't have them yet. You're just starting out. So stop trying to rush and pay for things that you don't need. And when you need it, trust me, you'll figure it out. But in the beginning, don't stand behind the starting line jogging in place. When it's time to go, you need to go. And oftentimes people paralyze themselves by focusing on things to start the business, so much so that they create barriers to starting. All these different insurances, they'll sell you all kinds of insurance. Whatever you're willing to pay for, you can pay for it. In my opinion, all you need to start this business is general, professional, and workers' comp. You don't even need workers' comp to start the recruitment line of business. To be honest, you don't need any insurance to start recruitment. Now, if you're sending people staffing wise into a client's organization, then that's when you will need the insurances. You don't go out and buy car insurance before you get a car. No, you don't go shopping for car insurance before you get a car. So don't go shopping for business insurance until you know that your business is tomorrow is going operational, not active. Just because you got the LLC and the EIN number, that doesn't mean you're operational. I'm an operations heavy person. So I say all of that to say, a lot of times with these laws and restrictions and guidelines for business, a lot of it is optional. Here's another tip. Your client oftentimes is going to dictate what you need. I tell people this about contracts. Everybody wants to bombard me asking for the contracts. And I'm like, well, let's just say you put together an amazing agreement. And in your agreement, you're calling for 25%. And you have this drawn out agreement. And you get a client and you send them that agreement and they say, ho, no. You're going to sign our agreement. You are our vendor. So we have an agreement for you. We have a contract for you to sign. Or they get your agreement and they send it to their legal team. And especially if you're dealing with a bigger company, they send it to their legal team and their legal team laughs at it or scoffs at it. Right? So oftentimes your client is going to dictate what your contracts look like, what insurances. I know when I was in my freight broker business, the shippers, the customer would tell us what insurance coverages they wanted. You had a lot of freight brokers coming out purchasing contingent cargo insurance. First of all, contingent means contingent upon, conditioned upon something else happening, right? So contingent by wording, by nomenclature, means not necessarily needed unless this, and this happens. So your clients are going to dictate what insurances you need. You may, for example, I'm going to throw this out there. Amazon actually uses staffing agencies. Amazon is a big company, but in particular for the for certain lines of business, like their refugee employment services or their second chance employment services or offerings, they use recruitment agencies. So you could go over to Amazon and be an employment services vendor to them. Do you really think that Amazon is going to give a damn about your agreements and what insurances you have? No, they're going to tell you coming in, this is what you need. So once you receive the client's requirements, then you go out and shop for those things and get it. You can get insurance in a day, like literally a day. So I say all of that to say, don't make it harder on yourself. Yes, the kit covers insurance. I actually think it's covered in a whole nother folder. It might be in multiple places, but there's a whole folder on this stuff that revolves around classifying. First of all, you got to get your employees and classify them. So the question is multi-layered because it's like, okay, well, what type of insurance? Well, that depends. What are you classifying your employees as? What exactly are what are they going to be doing when they get to the job? There's a whole lot of factors that goes into. So these type of questions, while they may seem so intricate, they're not, because they are situation specific. And once you get to the situation, that's when you worry about it. In the meantime, my recommendation is focus on where you're going to get a client from. Focus on who you're going to fill the roles with when you get a client. Focus on that stuff first. People do everything leading up to the business or to start the business, and they never get started. They never get to the staffing part. They never get to the recruitment part because they worried about this type of stuff. So that's my spiel on that. All right. And I appreciate her question. I'm pretty sure more people have it. I'm not being snarky with her at all. It's just that I want y'all to get started. I want y'all to be operational. I want you to be great. And I want you to stop putting barriers in front of yourself that preclude you from starting. All right. Now, to a much lighter message that I received on LinkedIn. This was yesterday. I had a young lady. She's not an entrepreneur as of yet, but she simply said, "Hey, Sean, I follow you on LinkedIn." I'm sorry, excuse me. She follows me on YouTube. And she says, "Your background and knowledge are impressive. I look up to you." And of course, that makes me feel great. Thank you. And she says, "One of her obstacles in the corporate world is organization, time management, and being that I seek to go from entry mid-level manager, HR, in the next 4 to 5 years, this is something I need to work on. Do you know any resources, learning materials I can utilize to build my organization and time management skills in the corporate environment?" So I responded to her. I sent her a really long email addressing all of her points. But for the purpose of this video, I want to address time management. I'm not the most organized person. I'm not the most time managed person either. I have to work on these things myself. But I'm going to tell you a secret that helps me and has helped me since I was probably in college or high school. It's called the Pomodoro technique, the Pomodoro method, and time blocking. So essentially what this is you take your 24 hours in a day, block out when you're going to be sleeping. Ain't nothing getting done during that time. Outside of that time, create time blocks. What time are you going to wake up? What block of time is going to be spent on whatever it is you do when you first get up? Making your bed, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, exercise. Block out that time. I block out the time it takes me to take my son to school. And I block out everything. How long does it take me to fix coffee? I put everything in time blocks. Then when I actually sit down here at my desk, when I get in my office and I sit down and I start working, usually that's around 9 a.m., I block out 45 minutes. 45 minutes is a unit. One Pomodoro. Your Pomodoro is whatever time unit. It can be 15 minutes. It can be 45 minutes. It can be 2 hours. But I recommend for one Pomodoro, it be 45 minutes to an hour. So for 45 minutes to an hour, you commit to doing one specific thing. So in her case, she's a mid-level manager. If she has meetings or a Zoom at 9 a.m., those meetings are going to be 30 to 45 minutes. Commit to spending that 30 to 45 minutes on whatever that thing is. Complete focus. No Facebook, no scrolling through YouTube, no music, no distractions. 45 minutes of intensive focus on one thing. My first Pomodoro in the morning, to be honest, my very first Pomodoro is going in and checking and updating my job requisitions. One thing that I am getting better about and more stringent about is how many times I check email, how many times I check social media. I love social media. I can post on social media all day. If I'm not careful, I will waste a whole day on social media. So how I do social media is I post and go. I post whatever it is I'm going to post and I exit out of the app immediately. I'm not a big scroller. I might be a heavy poster sometimes, but I'm not a big scroller. So I'm going to post what I got to say and dip out and go on about my business. And then when I come back later and see that somebody's responded to something I said, then I'll continue and I'll have engagement from that aspect. But implement the Pomodoro technique, even when if you're trying to implement exercise habits. Commit to 15 to 30 minutes. If you do the 15 to 30 minutes, chances are you'll end up going 45. But you have to get started and you have to commit to a small time block. So if I have emails to answer, if I'm doing candidate interviews, that's a Pomodoro. If I know I have 3 candidate interviews to do this afternoon, I'm going to block out 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. to focus only on those 3 interviews. That is it. I can set a clock to it. That's another recommendation. Use a timer, whether it be the timer on your phone, you get a little stopwatch, whatever you want to do. They have little timers specifically for the Pomodoro method. You can go on Amazon and find one. Use a timer, start that timer, set that timer for an hour, set it for 45 minutes, and you work until that bell goes off. You don't stop until that bell goes off. As far as organization, remember I talked about my emails. I only try to check my emails maybe twice per day, in the morning, excuse me, and then in the afternoon. And the reason why I have someone else, my assistants, checking my emails is so I don't get distracted. Every email that comes into your inbox is just not important right then. Okay. So if there is something that they see in there that is urgent that I need to get to, they forward it to me, to my email. So this is the other thing. I have multiple email addresses. They have an email box that they manage, and then I have my personal one specifically for Care Dynamics. So Care Dynamics has 2 emails. I make sure that the bulk of the emails go to them. They manage that. Then if there's something that comes in there that I need to look at, they forward it to me. So I know if I get something from them, ding, I need to get on it right now. Otherwise, those messages are not going to be checked outside of those 2 times a day that I allot for emails. Another thing that I utilize is HubSpot. I love HubSpot. It can be distracting because HubSpot tells you every time an email is opened. It tells you how long they were in the email, what they clicked on in the email, what actions were taken with that email. So HubSpot is a gift and a curse in that it allows you to manage your emails. But if you're kind of neurotic about email, you'll get distracted by it. For example, I sent out a proposal Monday. Was it Monday? Tuesday. I sent out a proposal on Tuesday morning, actually Monday night. So Tuesday morning when I woke up, I was getting ping, 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 ping from HubSpot because that email was being opened and it was being shared. And of course, the anxiety for me is high because that's a proposal. I literally sent out a proposal to a prospective client to do business with them. So every time that email was opened, I'm like, oh, she's looking at it. Somebody's looking at it. They're looking at it. Oh, they're clicking on it. They're forwarding it. HubSpot will show you all that stuff. It's good for when it's time to check email, but it's great for organization. If you don't have an assistant like I do to go through your messages and your emails, and let me show you, they put them in a nice little spreadsheet for me. I have two of them, so each of them works. One works from the bottom up and one works from the top down, and they organize it by label. They create a link for it and link directly to the message. They send me the message so I can see what the message is, and then if I need to respond or say anything to it, boom, I click on it and it goes into the inbox. It tells me who the person is that sent it, where it came from, all that stuff. If you don't have somebody doing this for you, that's fine. Also, what I put in here for them, like the green ones, I put, if it's green, it just means that I addressed it and it's kind of none of their business what I did with it, but it's handled. If it's something they need to toggle back on, I put what action was taken or, whatever notes that I have about the message. But get your inbox organized. A set amount of time for when you're going to be looking at LinkedIn messages, even on a personal level. Like I said, you can sit on Facebook and TikTok all day, scrolling. Next thing you know, 5 hours has passed and you've done nothing. So what my recommendation is, even on the personal side, if you want to post something, post it and go. Post it and close the app. Because if you sitting there scrolling, those things are designed to pull you in and capture your attention. And it's going to show you content upon content upon content based on your user preferences, based on what the system has studied about you. It'll keep feeding you more and more stuff that you want to see. Next thing you know, you're behind on work, behind on assignments, behind on business. Your kids ain't ate, stuff like that we don't want happening. So set aside time. If you're going to incorporate personal social media rising or whatever, I just made up a word. If you're going to do that, set it in a Pomodoro. So say for 45 minutes, I'm a surf on Facebook. Build it in. Be realistic about it. If you're going to do it, build it into your time blocks. Build it into a Pomodoro. All right, I'm going to get on Facebook. And even if you're using it for business, okay, marketing, I'm going to spend 30 minutes posting all my content for my business. Block out that time, set that timer, handle your business. So I hope I helped you guys today. Drop down in the comments. I'm going to start for the month of November. I'm going to go in small increments because I always say I'm going to start doing my videos every week or every day. And frankly, time gets away from me. And then you have a month that goes by and no new content. My bad. But for the month of November, I'm going to try to be more regular about it. And in particular, I'm going to start incorporating some of these messages that I receive from you guys. So if you have questions, shoot me an email. I'm not promising that every question is going to be featured on the channel. Some stuff is too specific. Some things are just frankly absurd. But if I get a good question that I think others would benefit from, like these, I'll address them in video. So you guys, you have an amazing rest of your day. I hope that November brings you much knowledge, much growth, much income and revenue. I hope it brings you peace. I hope it brings you joy. October is over. I know a lot of people had a rough October for whatever reason. My October was crazy. Y'all don't even know. One day I'll tell you about it. My October was crazy. Okay. But we got through it. It's over. Don't bring that stuff. I almost cussed. Don't bring October into November. Clean slate. Get everything done. Have a great day.